Have you ever picked up your grandbaby, only to be greeted by a funny noise from their belly, a fussy little face, or, let's be honest, a diaper situation that made you want to phone and back up? If you have, you're not alone. It's amazing how such tiny humans can have such dramatic little digestive systems. One minute they're smiling, the next they're grunting and twisting like they're trying to tell you something, and in a way, they are. Caring for a baby's tummy can feel like a mystery sometimes. And if you're a grandparent, maybe it's been a few years, maybe even decades, since you last changed a diaper or rocked a baby through a bout of gas. A lot has changed, and yet some things are still the same. What babies need, especially in those early months, is understanding, patience, and a little bit of know-how to keep those tiny digestive systems running smoothly. That's why we're talking today about something you might not think much about at first: infant digestion. It's not glamorous, it's not cute like their little socks or their tiny sneezes, but it is crucial. A happy tummy means a happy baby, and a happy baby means everyone sleeps better, smiles more, and feels less stressed. And believe me, if there's anything grandparents are good at, it's noticing the little things and bringing a sense of calm to chaos. So in this conversation, we're going to explore some surprising facts about how babies digest food, and more importantly, how you can help when a tummy isn't quite working the way it should. Whether you're helping care for a new grandbaby, babysitting occasionally, or just want to support your own child through the joys and challenges of parenting, this is one of those topics where a little knowledge goes a long way. Let's start with something that often catches people off guard. Did you know that babies are born with immature digestive systems? That's right, at birth, their stomach, intestines, and even the enzymes that break down food are still developing. That means things don't always move as smoothly as they do in an adult's body. It's not unusual for a baby to seem uncomfortable after feeding, even when everything's been done right. This is one reason why you'll see babies spit up after a meal. Their tiny tummies are still learning how to handle milk, and the muscle that keeps food from coming back up, the lower esophageal sphincter, isn't fully developed. So, if your grandbaby just had a nice bottle and then burps up a little, don't panic. It's messy, sure, but usually harmless. What helps is feeding them slowly, keeping them upright after eating, and giving them a gentle burp, sometimes more than once. Now, something else that surprises a lot of folks is how sensitive babies are to what they eat, or, in the case of breastfeeding, to what mom eats. If your daughter or daughter-in-law is breastfeeding, certain foods in her diet can cause the baby to become gassy or fussy. Spicy foods, dairy, even too much caffeine can sometimes sneak into breast milk and cause a reaction. So if the baby seems unusually cranky or uncomfortable, it's not always about the baby's digestion alone. It might be a good time to gently ask if anything in mom's diet has changed. And while we're on the subject of feeding, let's talk about formula. There's a lot of debate these days: breast milk versus formula, what kind of formula is best, whether organic matters. But what's important to know is that not all formulas work the same for every baby. Some babies digest regular cow's milk-based formula just fine. Others might need a gentler version, one that's partially broken down or labeled force-sensitive stomachs. If you notice a pattern, like bloating, lots of gas, or trouble passing stools, it might be worth suggesting a conversation with the pediatrician about trying a different type of formula. Now, here's something you might not expect. Babies can go several days without having a bowel movement, and it doesn't always mean they're constipated. This one tends to surprise folks, especially if you're used to older kids or adults who go every day. Breastfed babies, in particular, can go up to a week without pooping, because breast milk is so efficiently digested there's often not much waste left. The key here is not just how often they go, but how they go. If they seem to be straining hard, crying before or during, or their stool looks unusually hard or dry, then you might be dealing with constipation. In those cases, gentle tummy massage or bicycling their legs can help get things moving. That brings me to another important, and often underestimated, piece of the digestion puzzle: movement. Just like us, babies benefit from gentle motion to help their digestive system along. If your grandbaby seems fussy or gassy, laying them on their back and gently moving their legs like they're pedaling a bike can do wonders. Or simply holding them upright against your chest and walking around the room can help settle things. Sometimes, it's not about medicine or food, it's just about patience and a little gentle encouragement. Of course, what makes all of this easier is experience. And that's where you come in. Your calm touch, your ability to notice subtle changes, and your presence can make such a big difference for a baby who doesn't know what's going on inside their own body. You may not be a doctor, but you know when something just doesn't feel right. You know when a cry is different, when a diaper looks off, when a little forehead feels warmer than usual. That intuition, those grandparent senses, are real and they're valuable. So as we start to look more closely at infant digestion and how we can help make it easier and more comfortable for the little ones we love, just remember this: it doesn't take expensive gadgets, complicated plans, or fancy degrees. It takes attention, care, and a few thoughtful adjustments to how we feed, hold, and soothe the baby. And that's something you've already got plenty of. Now that we've uncovered a few of the earliest clues about how babies digest food, let's take a look at some of the more surprising ways that little tummies react to changes and how you can gently support them through each one. It's amazing, isn't it? How such a small baby, just a few weeks or months old, can teach us so much by simply being themselves. All those little noises, movements, even the way they fuss or smile, it's their way of communicating. And when it comes to digestion, they're often trying to say, "Hey, something's going on in here." One of the more surprising facts about infant digestion is that their gut is still learning how to protect itself. Unlike adults, babies don't have a fully developed gut lining right away. That lining is what helps block harmful bacteria and keeps everything running smoothly. In the early months, it's still a bit porous, which means it lets more things through, sometimes even things that might trigger discomfort or allergies. That's why you might notice a baby reacting to certain formulas or even to something in breast milk. It doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong, it just means their body is learning, adapting. This is one reason why pediatricians often suggest introducing new foods or formulas slowly, giving the baby time to adjust and the gut time to strengthen. So if you're helping feed your grandbaby and notice their tummy seems upset after a new bottle or cereal, it might just be their system saying, "Too much, too fast." This is also why breast milk is considered such a gold standard in the early months. It contains antibodies and enzymes that not only nourish the baby but also protect and support the gut while it's developing. But not everyone can or wants to breastfeed, and that's okay too. There are gentle formulas designed to mimic some of those protective qualities, and choosing the right one can make a world of difference. If you're ever unsure, a quick chat with a pediatrician can help guide the way. Now let's talk gas. Oh, baby gas, the great mystery. It's common, it's noisy, and let's be honest, sometimes it's funny, until it's not. If you've ever seen a baby pull up their legs, turn red in the face, and let out a sound that seems far too dramatic for their size, you've witnessed the belly battle firsthand. Babies can be gassy for a lot of reasons. They swallow air when they cry, when they feed, and even when they try to figure out their voice. And because their digestive tract is still learning how to move things along, that air can get stuck. Sometimes it causes hiccups, other times it bubbles up as a burp, or heads south and causes those grumbly, gurgly noises in their belly. One thing you can do is to help them burp gently during and after feedings. You don't have to pat too hard, just a light rhythm on the back, or even just holding them upright against your chest can do the trick. Tummy time is another little trick that helps relieve gas while also building neck and shoulder strength. Just a few minutes a day can help shift that air around and get things moving. If they're too young for tummy time on the floor, you can lay them across your knees or gently across your arm. It's the motion and the pressure on their belly that helps. Now, here's a fun and fascinating fact you might not expect. Babies are born without the helpful gut bacteria we have as adults. That's right, those good bacteria that help us digest food, absorb nutrients, and fight off the bad stuff. Babies have to build that up from scratch. This process starts during birth, especially if they're born vaginally, and continues through breastfeeding and their early diet. That's why some parents give babies infant probiotics, especially if their little one seems colicky or has frequent tummy troubles. Of course, that's not something you just grab off the shelf without guidance, but it's helpful to know that when a baby's digestion seems out of sorts, it might not be about the food itself. It could be about what's missing in their gut. Even a baby who's getting the right nutrients might still need a little time, or a little extra help, to build up those good bugs. Another thing that often gets overlooked is how sensitive babies are to stimulation. Bright lights, noise, being passed from one person to another, it all adds up. And stress, even in tiny doses, can affect digestion. If you've ever noticed a baby who was perfectly content 1 minute, then suddenly crying after a busy day with lots of visitors, it might not just be exhaustion, it might be a stressed-out tummy. This is why quiet time, skin-to-skin contact, and a consistent routine are more important than they might seem. A calm environment helps calm digestion. When a baby feels safe and secure, their body relaxes, and digestion happens more easily. So if you're ever helping with bedtime or babysitting for an hour or two, that quiet rocking in a dim room isn't just good for their mood, it's good for their belly, too. And let's not forget the diapers. What comes out tells you a lot about what's happening inside. The color, the texture, even the smell, yes, we're going there, all of it gives clues. It might not be your favorite topic, but it's worth paying attention. A sudden change in stool, like going from soft to hard, or an unusual color like gray or chalky white, is worth mentioning to the parents or even bringing up with a doctor. You don't have to be a detective, just a careful observer. And you already know how to do that. So often, when a baby is uncomfortable, the answer is already in the little details we see and feel every day. How they feed, how they sleep, how they cry, all of it is connected. And every gentle touch, every thoughtful moment you share, is helping shape not only their comfort today but their health long term. You don't need to memorize complicated medical advice or have all the answers. You just need to stay curious, keep watching, and trust that your care makes a difference. Whether you're the hands-on grandparent changing diapers or simply the reassuring voice over the phone, you're part of the foundation that helps this little one grow, and that includes helping their tummy stay happy. Let's keep going and look a little deeper at how those tiny tummies respond to early foods, and how even small changes in their routine or diet can make a big difference in their comfort and health. As babies grow, their tummies go through quite the transformation. What worked 1 week might not sit so well the next. And if you've ever helped with a baby who suddenly starts fussing after meals, gumming at their hands, or pushing food out with their tongue, it might not be a picky phase. It could just be their digestive system working through the next stage of development. One moment that catches many grandparents by surprise is when babies start showing interest in solid foods. That usually happens around the 4 to 6 month mark. But even if a baby looks eager, grabbing at your spoon or mimicking chewing, they may not be ready inside. Their little digestive tract has to mature enough to break down more complex foods, and starting too early can actually lead to discomfort, bloating, and even constipation. That's why those early foods need to be as gentle as possible. Think soft, smooth, and simple. Mashed bananas, plain sweet potatoes, or finely pureed carrots are popular for a reason. They're easy on the belly and unlikely to cause a reaction. But even then, it's a good idea to introduce one new food at a time and give the body a few days to respond. That way, if a baby shows signs of gas or rash or spit up, it's easier to pinpoint what may be causing it. And here's a lesser-known but important fact. Not all babies produce enough of the enzyme needed to digest certain carbohydrates, especially in foods like apples, pears, or fruit juices. This can lead to something called toddler diarrhea, even though it can begin in babies once they start on solids. It's not serious, but it is uncomfortable, and it can often be avoided by holding off on juices or overly sugary foods until their system can handle it. Something else that plays a big role in digestion, but often gets overlooked, is how a baby is seated during feeding. It's such a small detail, but posture makes a big difference. Feeding a baby while they're reclined too much can cause milk or food to pool in their throat and increase spit up or gas. Holding them upright or using a supportive high chair when they're ready for solids helps the food move down naturally and keeps the air from sneaking in. And after feeding, giving them a few minutes to sit upright or cuddle on your chest is one of the simplest ways to help their digestion along. Now, let's talk poop again for just a moment, because around this time, it starts to change. And that can come as a shock if you've been used to those soft, breast milk poops that barely smell. Suddenly, once solids begin, diapers take on a whole new meaning. The texture becomes thicker, the smell stronger, and the frequency less predictable. This is normal. It just means the digestive system is working harder, pulling out more nutrients, and producing more waste. But if you notice a baby seems uncomfortable, is straining too hard, or has very firm stools, there are ways to help. A little bit of water between meals can assist once solids have started, just a few sips here and there, approved by the pediatrician. Some mashed prunes or a teaspoon of pear puree can help move things along naturally. No need for anything drastic. Just simple, gentle foods and small tweaks. As babies continue to grow, their appetite grows too, but so does their independence. They might start wanting to feed themselves, reaching for the spoon or refusing foods they loved just a week ago. This stage is part of the process, and it ties right into digestion. Because babies eat more when they're comfortable and relaxed. And a baby who's relaxed digests better, sleeps better, and smiles more. You've probably noticed that cycle before: eat, sleep, poop, play, repeat. When one part of that cycle is off, the rest usually follows. And believe it or not, sleep is just as vital for digestion as the food itself. When babies don't get enough rest, their stress hormones can increase, which affects gut function. You might not think a baby could be stressed, but even overtiredness or too much stimulation can make them fussy, gassy, or irregular. That's why creating a calm, cozy sleep environment is another powerful way to support their digestion. A soft lullaby, a darkened room, and a steady routine can do wonders not just for their mood but for their belly too. At this point, you might be thinking, there's a lot more to infant digestion than meets the eye. And you'd be right. These little bodies are working so hard every day to grow, to adapt, to take in new information and new nutrition. They can't tell you what they're feeling in words, but their bodies are telling you all the time, through their cries, their diapers, their sleep, their smiles. And this is where your wisdom matters most. Because while new parents are juggling Google searches and baby books, you've got something that can't be found in an app: your intuition. Your ability to stay calm when things get messy. Your patience when the bottle spills or the baby just won't settle. That experience is a gift, and it brings peace to the people around you, even when you're just there to lend a hand or offer a reassuring word. The most surprising thing about infant digestion isn't really the science behind it. It's how deeply it connects us to those early caregiving instincts we all carry. Whether you're bouncing a baby to sleep or making a gentle puree with love, everything you do helps support that little belly, and, by extension, that little life. So as babies explore new tastes, new movements, and new sensations, and as their bodies continue to change in sometimes unpredictable ways, you'll be right there beside them. Watching. Listening. Responding with love. And that's what makes all the difference. Let's take a moment now to look at the final few facts about infant digestion, some that may even surprise you, and talk about a few easy ways to keep supporting these sweet little bellies as they grow.